Alright, so this is Notebook LM. It's free and it's made by Google, and most people have never even heard of it. And basically what it is an AI that summarizes any PDF, and it's almost like it knows the document inside out. So I'm going to walk you through on how to use it, and let's get right into the video without wasting any time. Alright, so first of all, when you press get started, you're going to be greeted in this page, and what you're going to want to do is you want to click on create new notebook, and then it will lead you to this page. And now what you want to do is, if you have any PDFs, images, documents or audio, you can upload your files over here. So in this case scenario, I'm going to drop in one PDF first, and then later on we're going to get to an experiment which I will cover in the next few minutes of the video. Alright, so here's where it actually gets really interesting. I just dropped Apple's privacy policy on a PDF form in Notebook LM, and without me even giving it a prompt or even starting a chat with it, it literally just summarized the PDF for me. And Notebook LM actually does support other languages apart from English as well. So if you do speak another language that's not English, you can actually have this work on whatever PDF, image or document you wanted to work on. And if we actually go down and scroll over here, we can see some questions related to the PDF, which I also really think is cool. And we are going to get to those in a minute. And we can see what rights do I have access to and delete my data, etc, etc. Another thing that I'd like to cover is that you can actually read the PDF in Notebook LM. So let's say you don't want to open it over from your file explorer, you can go over here, click it, and then here, as you guys can see, we can scroll down and actually read the whole PDF, and you can kind of get a basis as well of, well, okay, AI is answering this for me, let me actually read it and confirm that it's actually true. Alright, so you guys can probably tell that this is probably a really powerful tool. So let's go ahead and spice things up and ask it a question related to this PDF. So as you guys can see, we actually do have some suggestions for what questions we can ask, but we are going to go ahead and ask it our own question, and we are going to be like, can Apple delete your account without telling us why? We're going to press enter, and then AI is going to basically answer it for us. So let's go ahead and see how good the answer actually is. So as you guys can see, it did actually give us an answer regarding the PDF as well, and it stayed on the source. So obviously that is really nice, and it does say that there is no explicit statement granting Apple the right to delete your account. So we do have our answer right there. So that is pretty cool, and that is most definitely a big relief. And something I'd like to add is that you can actually see where it is getting its answers from. So if we see these numbers over here is referring back to the PDF, and you guys can see this small bit of text, and if we click on it we can actually see the whole PDF. So I do think that is pretty cool, as it actually has source or backup for its answer. It's not getting its answer from thin air, so there's no need to worry for any of that. And as you guys can see here on the right, we do have some options to make it into an audio overview, a slide deck, video overview, reports, quiz, flashcards, etc. And I think that is very useful, because let's say that you want to analyze some data in a PDF and you don't really want to read through all the pages. You can make it into a data table, or let's say you're trying to learn something from school and you're trying to have a quiz or flashcards. You can actually create it right over here, and you can ask all the questions to Notebook LM. And I just think that's really useful and really handy in cases where you don't have that much time to actually read the whole PDF, or even if you just can't be asked. And I did actually have to move my webcam to the top left to show you guys that you can actually add your own notes as well. So let's say that you're actually reading and summarizing through the PDF and asking questions to Notebook LM. You guys can actually write your own notes, and you can even convert that to a source. And so what that basically does is, like a PDF over here, we have this as a source. Your notes will be turned as a source, and AI can read through those notes, so you can summarize it just like any PDF, or you can turn it into a quiz, etc. However, Notebook LM does actually make our lives really easy. So if you don't want to write notes, you can actually have your answer be saved as a note. However, you cannot actually make any edits, so it is set to view only. However, there is a catch: you can actually make your own document, and if you want, you can just keep editing it from there, copy and pasting it, and then you can add that as a source as well. So if that's something you guys are interested in, that is something to keep in mind. Also, another thing that I forgot to cover is that you can actually search the web for new sources. So let's say you are studying biology and you want some source or PDF or anything just linked to biology, we could go over here and type in biology. What it would do is it would search the web, and it would find sources based on biology, and then you can import that as your sources, and you can ask questions and do everything that we just covered. Another thing that I really like is, let's say we want to make a quiz, we can actually customize the settings to your liking. Here, what should the topic be? And here, as you guys can see, this is like the prompt that is by default, and you can actually change the number of questions to fewer, standard, or more, and level of difficulty. And I think that's pretty useful, and that can actually be done across all these other things like flashcards. It can be done on reports, and as you guys can see, the reports actually gives you a lot of options, and you can actually do briefing documents, study guide, blog posts, etc., which I think is really useful if you're trying to do creative writing a blog, any of those things. NotebookLM is the AI you should be using in 2026. Also, before we do get into our experiment, I just want to make it clear that this isn't just for terms and services. Students can use this, so if you want to revise the night before an exam and quiz yourself, you can actually use this. People that work with contracts or reports, you guys can use this. Content creators can use this. So I just want to put it out there that there are a lot of different use cases, and it can all be tailored to your needs. All right, so here's where things actually get really interesting. So as you guys can see, I've added 2 more sources. So Google Terms of Service, Meta privacy policy, and what NotebookLM can actually do is it can read across all these different sources that I have added, and it can give me an answer based on any question that I asked. And I can also untick all these different sources. So let's say I don't want it to read this source, I can untick it, or this source, I can untick it. But I wanted to read all these sources for this experiment, so we're just going to go ahead and tick all of them back. So let's actually start off with our first question. Which of these 3 companies can access my personal messages or files? And we press enter, and then we're going to see how good. So as you guys can see, it actually did give us an answer based on all these 3 sources. It says all these 3 companies, Google, Meta, and Apple, have the technical or legal capacity, and you guys get the point. It also gives us different types of data that each different company can access, and as you guys can see, it does refer back to the PDFs. So that is pretty cool. All right, now let's ask it a question which I'm actually curious about. What data are all 3 companies collecting that most people don't know about? All right, now let's go ahead and press enter and see what answer it actually gives us. So here's the answer that it actually generated for us. And as you can see, it actually did give us a pretty detailed answer for it. I do think it is pretty interesting, and you can pretty much use it for any use case. Also, a bit off topic, I do hope this makes it useful to realize that a lot of your data isn't actually safe. You should actually read these terms and conditions. I do have one last final question for it, so let's go ahead and see if it can answer it. So again, is reading our sources, and it's going to generate an answer for us. And as you guys can see, the answer is pretty shocking. But yeah, you guys can actually experiment with this yourself, and the results are pretty terrifying in terms of all these companies that can read your data. It is useful to know, and as you guys can see, NotebookLM is actually a very useful tool. All right guys, so that was it for the video. I hope you guys got a gist of how NotebookLM actually works. And if you are someone who is interested in videos like this and wants to learn more about AI, then please make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and comment down below if you have any questions. I'll make sure to reply back to you. And if you're a business owner trying to implement AI into their business and save time and money, then I'll leave my email down in the description, and you guys can contact me right there. And another thing I'd like to add is that I hope you guys know that these companies actually do use your data, so we need to be a bit more careful and stay a bit more private. Start reading the terms and services way more. But anyways guys, that's it for today. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye bye.